Consistently throughout movie history, you can count on horror movies to give you an exciting time at the cinema. But here with Undertone, we have a piece of work that goes back to the simplicity of a scary tale. Moody and sometimes filled with dread. Let's talk some more about this new slow burn horror movie right here on the Film Podcast. This is going to be a mini review of what I think is an interesting film. To be fair, from the trailers, I didn't really know what I was expecting. But one guarantee I had was that it was going to creep me out. And the reason why I say guarantee is because, well, the trailer is absolutely freaky. The trailer is extremely scary, especially when you don't know anything about it. It just sort of creeps up on you and it plays that game with you. I'm a bit weird, I'm a bit abstract, I'm a little bit sort of ominous. And, you know, those are the things that I love. Those are the feels that I get when I think about a horror film like Undertone. Now, the execution of Undertone is most definitely that. It does have all those elements in it, right? So let's get the negative stuff out the way first. As much as I wanted to be intrigued by what was going on, I think that it's very, very, very much a slow burn. I think it's too slow a burn, to be fair. I don't think there's quite enough stuff that goes on in various parts of it. There were things that could have happened that could have given you a few scares rather than just ending up as kind of nothing, really. The build-up of these events is exceptionally well done. It really is. The quietness of it all is also really, really well done. Its vibe is definitely terrifying. I mean, it does have a terrifying vibe about it. But I don't know, I just think that it's ever so slightly too slow. It's ever so slightly too loose with its idea. So the premise is essentially, we have a lead character. She's called Evie, and she's played brilliantly by Nina Kiri. She's the person that we see throughout the entire film, pretty much. It's all her. She's in the process of recording a podcast, and it's a podcast that focuses on sort of weird stories and strange things that happen. Ghostly stuff, basically. Weird phenomena, those kind of things. I mean, that's fantastic. As a premise itself, it's really good. We all love listening to podcasts, and for sure, it's the kind of podcast I'd love to listen to anyway. She's in a house. She's on her own, kind of on her own. She's looking after her mother, who is terminally ill, bedridden. She can't speak or do anything. She has to look after her mother. Evie is the primary carer. And one of the elements that I love from way back when I was little to pretty much, well, now as well, is the sound, the audio of cinema. That experience of hearing stuff that comes from anywhere in the cinema. You've got the surround sound systems that they have in cinemas these days. Well, back in the day, you know, the surround sound systems were pretty much just as good as they are now. This is the thing about Undertone that I love the most, was the sound design. The entire atmosphere is validated by this movie's sound design, by the way that the stuff that happens to everybody is really not seen. It's heard. That's where in your mind this film works in terms of scaring you. And those are the things that I think work really well in horror films anyway, when you don't necessarily see everything. But as I said before, the problem with this is not seeing something is good. Building up an atmosphere and creating fear within the audience can be done that way. It can be done that way really, really, really well. But this film, I don't know, I just reckon there's a tiny element missing somewhere. I can't quite pinpoint what it is, but the sound design is brilliant. And that's the thing that makes you jump. And that's what made me feel that I have to go and see this when I saw the trailer, because the sound design on the trailer is immaculate. I mean, it's one of those situations where, although the surround speakers are all around the cinema in most cases, they're not always utilised as well as they are in this film. In Undertone, the whole sound field is used to full effect. You get, for example, a clock ticking, and depending on where the camera is in the room, the clock ticks in the various parts of the cinema that you're sitting in, all around it. That metaphor does go throughout the entire film. And it's not just the clock sounds, the sound field gradually expands throughout the whole film itself. So it goes from pinpoint sounds that you hear everywhere to a basic cacophony of noise all around you. You never kind of get used to it. It always startles you. It always makes you feel unsettled. If you're going to go and see this film on the big screen, pick a cinema that's got a really good surround sound system. Luckily for me, most of the cinemas that I make sure I go to have got really great audio systems. I know that cinemas exist which do have blown out speakers, left or right, centre, surround speakers not working, whatever. It all happens. So make sure you go and see this film in a cinema which you know has got an awesome sound system. That will definitely enhance the experience of seeing Undertone. We get a lot of moments in this film where there's empty space, either on the left or the right side of the character. And this is where my criticism comes from of this movie. This is where I'm slightly disappointed in what I saw. And I'm saying that because the premise and the idea is so good. It's so, like, well done. I mean, it is well done. It's just missing those little elements. And one of those elements that it's missing, aside from not enough scares, not enough stuff that will make you jump out your skin, because it really could have done that. It really could have done it well. There are horror films out there that do jump scares beautifully. There are horror films out there that do too many jump scares, but there are horror films out there that do just enough, and they do them perfectly. And this film is missing a trick with that. It is. There could have been more of it. But when there are jump scares, when something creepy happens, it does make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. And I think the atmosphere of this whole film does have that sense of absolute dread about it. The payoff, and I'm not going to spoil it, of course. I don't do spoilers on this channel. But the payoff of this film is also very satisfying. I think everything that we're building up to does bring itself to a conclusion really well. And I'm not going to say what it is, but I think it works pretty damn good. I think they did a really good job of that. As I say, there's nobody else in this film. There's just the lead character and the lead character's mum. Everyone else in the movie is heard off screen. They're on the phone or they're on the other end of the podcast line. They're recording this podcast about the creepy stuff that goes on. They get sent these recordings. There's 10 of them. And they get sent them on an email and they don't know where they've come from. The note basically says something along the lines of, check these 10 recordings out and, make a program about it. And that's what they do. They go through each of the recordings. They're only very short, but they're all a little bit weird, and they tell this kind of paranormal activity setup. If you've seen Paranormal Activity, you get that boyfriend and girlfriend recording themselves while they're sleeping, but instead of it being a video camera, it's just audio, it's just sound. And again, that's where the premise of this film is. It's all about the audio experience of what's going on in the film. They're recording their podcast, and they go through the recordings one by one. And to say that the recordings are eerie and a little bit scary is also an understatement, because they are. I was listening to them and I'm thinking, I don't think I would have got past the first one. Ominous shit's going to happen and we don't know what it's going to be. They play number 2 and then they play number 3 and I think they play number 4, and then the weirdness gets a little bit overwhelming because our lead character, Evie, she sort of is experiencing a bit of anxiety. She's experiencing a bit of depression. She's upset, basically. There's something else wrong. Everything is kept within the boundaries of the house. And, her mum is upstairs. She can't talk or do pretty much anything. And they're talking about end-of-life care. I know that's one of the other themes in this film, looking after a parent that's really sick and really ill. And that's what Evie's doing. So, it's pretty simple, right? It's a pretty simple premise. And it's built around this whole idea of the podcast and these recordings that are sent to the 2 hosts of the podcast. Now, the other host of the podcast, I think he's in London, so he's quite far away. So he's not there, he's not present, but he's on the other end of the computer of the podcast line, if you want to call it that. The deeper and deeper that they get into the recordings that they're listening to, the more creeped out they end up being. And in turn, the more creeped out we end up being. All the elements come together in this film. They come together really well. The idea of what we're seeing, of the story, the idea of what happens to the people in this film is also really good. There's just a little something missing from it, that's all. But having said that, is it worth going to see? Let's carry on our journey and let's kind of round this up and let's see how we feel about it on our way back. So it says the film is inspired by the director's experience of caring for his parents who were dying of terminal cancer. It was a radio play originally. Those elements that I described of the director, his experience of looking after his parents while they were in that terminal state, you know, he kind of melds them into the ideas of this film. And the whole thing was shot in his childhood home. I think that makes sense because the place feels like a lived-in environment. It feels like a real place. The director's name is Ian Towson, and he's Canadian. This is his first film, essentially, his first experience in making a film. And I think that if you make a movie like this for your very first movie, you're onto a winner, because all the ingredients are right there, right? As I said before, there's a couple of things missing with this film, but essentially all the ingredients are there. He has done a really good job with this, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. There's a lot of dead space in this movie. There's a lot of stuff here and a lot of stuff here in the framing of this film. I mean, it's a CinemaScope movie, so it's got that wide aspect ratio, but the characters that we do see in it, they're all framed on the extreme edges most of the time. And there's a lot of dead space looking at just nothing. And that in itself kind of creeps you out a little bit. It kind of makes you think, is something going to jump out at me? Is it going to freak me out? And that also unsettles you quite a lot, to be fair. There are interesting things in this film. There are definitely interesting ideas in there. The fact that this is the director's first film and it works so well, I think it's exciting to think of what this guy can do next. And it looks like his next film is going to be Paranormal Activity 8, which I thought they'd stop making them, but obviously not. So there is something coming up from him, and he's going to be making the next Paranormal Activity movie, and it kind of makes absolute sense that he's going to do that. I'd say that this is beautiful to look at. I mean, it is gorgeous to look at. That location, the director's actual childhood home, is a stunning place. It's beautiful. All of the trinkets and all of the paintings on the walls and the decor and everything else, it does sing, you know, scary house. It has got scary house vibes about it. The atmosphere from the location comes through really well, and that's a good thing also. Undertone isn't perfect. Not perfect at all, but it's an interesting piece of work. It's a fun piece of work. It's a piece of work that you will get creeped out by because of its whole atmosphere. It's ominous. It manages to maintain that ominousness all the way through it. It manages to keep itself interesting as well. It doesn't get to a point where you think, oh, for God's sake. I didn't get that vibe about it. I didn't get frustrated with it at all. I was kind of intrigued. I kept that intrigue up all the way through it. I want to see what's going to happen next. I really need to know what this is all about. The experience you're going to have of this film, it is all about the atmosphere. Literally, the sound mix is gorgeous. I don't think the use of surround sound in a movie has been done this way for a long time. The audio mix of this film is the standout thing about it. It can creep you out just by stuff happening over there in the back, or over there on the right, over there on the left. It's great the way they do that. I wish they'd do it more often in films, actually. I wish there were directors out there that would use the soundstage of the cinema much more than they do. Unexpectedly, films like this tend to have better sound mixes than the big blockbuster stuff. The way that smaller films like this utilize the sound mix to a really great effect is something I appreciated about this film. The cinematography is also gorgeous. The wide aspect ratio, the way it looks, is also pretty good. So I guess I've summed it up already. Undertone is an interesting piece of work. It's a piece of work that you need to find a cinema with a good sound system to appreciate fully. It is creepy, it is weird, it is strange, and it's got all of those elements that you want from a supernatural horror film. My criticism of it is there's a couple of times where they could have done a really good jump scare and they just missed that opportunity. If they'd have done it, this would have been one of the most exciting films I've seen in the past few months. It really would have been. But they missed that opportunity. But that's okay, because as a whole, it works really well. And I think it's something that if you have some time, then go and find it and watch it on the big screen, solely because of the audio mix. If you're not bothered about that, it's fine to watch at home. I think you'll get the same creepy experience watching it at home for sure, especially if you've got a really good soundbar or a home cinema surround system or whatever. You'll get a great experience with this film. But yeah, if you get the opportunity to see this in a cinema with a really well-tuned sound system, then it's going to take full advantage of that, and it's going to creep you out even more than it would do without it. All I'll say is, when you finish watching it, like I did, you walk out the cinema, you go to the very, very empty car park because it is quite late right now. Moments of the film come back to you, and you do get a bit freaked out, and it does have that effect on you. So, you know, watching it at home, if you watch it before bed, I would expect you to be lying in bed, trying to get to sleep, trying to get this movie out of your head, and it'll be freaking you out at exactly the same time. But anyway, thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon for another review, right here on the Film Podcast.